All right, welcome to the end of week 3 in CIT 85 HTML and CSS. The last message I sent you was right before we went out on break, so I wanted to give you a follow-up message for some things that I saw this week. Couple things on the code along when you're doing this. Remember that the break that I offer, okay, is if you're submitting it on time. Okay, so in other words, if you have completed the work before the break, you can submit your URL and then you have until the following, 24 hours. Now, and again, this means from the time it was due, you have to complete that work and then you do the rest of it. If for some reason you're coming in that does not apply for you. In order for, and I will still late grade. That's just something to understand that if you submit something after the due date, I do grade it as late work. Okay, so just know that going in case you run into that situation. And remember, I do offer late passes. It's listed up in the syllabus. Okay, so that was for the code along. And I just, as I mentioned before, finished grading your week 3 project work, and a couple things I saw was that in here in the project requirements, when it specified for the second page, this was just a placeholder name. You actually need to name the file, whatever it is. That's why this is here, just to give you an example. So you name it. And naming is really important from a file perspective. From a file perspective, it should be all lowercase. If you want to have 2 words, you can put a dash between them. But in general, right, this was just giving you a placeholder because each of us has a different page we were creating. Okay. So, and then on the commit here, that when it says, when you see this bracket, this means you input whatever your page was. That's an important part. And again, these were placeholders. So I just want to say that if you're going forward, because the things I highlighted in my feedback. So this is the other thing is really important to look at the feedback I give you on your grade for these items. Right now, I as an instructor, I can view as a student, right, and go in and see what you see. So what you'd want to do is come in to your grade book, right, and look at those items. Now, in this case, again, you're not going to see what you typically see, but what you will see is comments, little icons for comments, and you want to see, and you can actually reply to those comments in there. But the important thing I want you to understand here is that for this work, if you got something wrong here or if you missed something, you need to fix it before the next one, because if you don't fix it, it continues to hurt you on the next step of the project. Okay. And this validation issue hit a couple of you. And this is really important to see. And if you didn't see it in the VS Code, and this is true, you need to install that extension. But in this case, I just want to show you. Now, this is a really some code that actually had significant problems. As a matter of fact, in this case, what I did is I ran it, right? And then here are all the outputs. Now, this is a pretty extreme case, but what you want to do is have 0 problems. So when you're running that, so remember, when you're in terminal, you're over here, you're doing your get workflow, but when you're actually checking your file, you're here, and you want to make sure that is 0. Even any warnings you want to get rid of. Okay, so make sure, again, these are the things that you want to fix. And I said this in feedback, so make sure you check it out as well. Okay, all right, so we are heading into week 4. Week 4 is available to you already. I won't actually stop that. But week 4 is available. I released it before spring break, and some of you have already gotten a start, which is highly recommended, because the other benefit of working ahead is when I see things, because my goal, and I generally have met this for this class, is to grade every day of the week. Okay, so Monday through Friday, today's Friday, right? I grade whatever has been submitted the day before. Matter of fact, what you can see in my list is there's nothing from now. It's hard for you to see this because you don't normally see this, but I get a list of work that needs to be graded. And so this morning I graded everything that was submitted. Okay. So I just want to give you a little update about, how to pace, making sure if possible you're working ahead. So then you get to benefit from my feedback, correct it, and get those points back. If you correct things, now in this case, let's say for a week 3 project, you need to correct it before you start on the week 4 project, but it doesn't improve your grade for week 3 because it was done the fixes were done after the due date. And so that's a really important distinction and the reason I offer why I grade daily so that you can see that feedback and update it. All right, have a great weekend and I will talk to you soon.